Hi, this is Zaida from liveinspired.co.za, and I am a life coach and emotional wellness coach. And recently, I put up something on my Instagram where I reached out to you guys and asked you about the concept of an empath and what you thought about being an empath and if it's something that any of you resonated with. I was inundated with responses from you guys. So many of you could resonate with it. Either you felt like you were an empath or you knew someone in your life that was close to you that displayed those characteristics. Many of you, however, displayed a deep sense of overwhelm and even sadness around this concept of having empathetic qualities. You felt like, I even got messages saying, it's ruining my life. It's the most difficult thing. It's a curse. On the other end of the spectrum, I received messages from some of you saying, I think it's the biggest blessing. So today I'm actually going to break down all of the concepts around being an empath and give you some advice into how you can manage being an empath a bit better. And this will help you if you yourself are an empath, or maybe you have a child or a partner or a loved one who you think might be an empath. It can help you understand them better and help you deal with it better. So let's get straight into it. What is an empath? There's many ways of describing an empath, but how I would describe it is someone who is able to tune into or plug into the subtle vibrations of thoughts and emotions that other people might be experiencing. Now, I do want to say that it's not 100% accurate. Even being an empath, we still bring our own filters. You still bring your own fears and projections, which is something that I'm going to get into. But you have the ability to kind of walk into a room, get a feeling of the vibe. So even though someone might not be saying exactly what happened, you can feel that there's been some level of conflict or something else that's going on. And if there's somebody that you're particularly close to, although not necessarily, because empaths can even plug into people that they're just resonating with at that moment, you can kind of tune into their pain and what they're feeling. Now, over and above this is what becomes overwhelming for some empaths, is they're actually able to sometimes feel the level of pain or grief or difficulty that other person is experiencing. And this is where they go into overwhelm. You'll find that children display empathetic qualities very often. So they're able to plug into what's going on, even though they may not be able to intellectualize and explain or communicate exactly what they're feeling. They can plug into it. And that's why they can walk into a situation where everyone seems to be okay, but the child gets upset because they're picking up on the subtle vibrations around them. So that's something to take into consideration if you are a parent. As an adult, if you find yourself as an empath, you may even feel like your senses are very heightened. So you're very sensitive to noises and crowds. And sometimes empaths even find that when they go into a situation where there's lots of people, say crowded malls or social functions, they find themselves becoming overwhelmed, especially if they haven't been able to find a way around navigating the gift of being an empath. Then they might find themselves becoming overwhelmed and feeling like it's too much. So today I'm going to break it down and give you solid advice that you can implement in your life if you think that you might be an empath. A very important point to consider if on this topic of being an empath is, what about the connection between an empath and a narcissist? And this is something we're going to touch on today. A lot of people send messages saying, yes, I'm an empath, or I know someone who's an empath, and we seem to attract narcissists in our life. Now, to give you an idea, a narcissistic tendency, without going into too much theory around it, is basically people who have a personality trait where they make it all about them. They feel like the world revolves around them. They become insensitive to the feelings of those around them, and they play the victim in their life. So they end up projecting onto other people a lot. And I feel like this term is thrown around a lot these days. And we tend to label people as being narcissists when we're not happy with them. So we need to be a little bit careful about that and be compassionate. A narcissist, by definition, is someone who has an inflated sense of self-importance, not someone who has a strong sense of self-worth. So you may think, oh, but isn't that the same thing? No. Someone who has a strong sense of self-worth has a lot of self-love. So they don't need to make other people feel smaller than themselves. They're like, I matter and you matter. Whereas a narcissist makes everything about them. They have a lack of empathy for other people, so they do and say things with no regard generally for how it might impact on other people. They have a deep need for admiration. They can display traits of being arrogant, self-centered, manipulative, and demanding. So why an empath would be attracted to a narcissist, there's quite a few different reasons, which I am going to go into when I give advice around being an empath. But some of the reasons are that an empath is so sensitive to how other people feel, and they have such an empathy and such compassion for other people, that when a narcissist comes in full-blown victim mode of, oh, the world is terrible, everything is happening to me, everyone hates me, no one considers my needs as important, because the narcissist often goes into full-blown victim mode, then the empath has all these empathetic, compassionate feelings coming through and may even take on the pain of the narcissist and may feel like in the moment they can help and assist them. The problem with that is that the narcissist's key core issues are not sorted out, and they keep on displaying this. And you can see how it could become a vicious cycle of the empath tuning in, plugging into the narcissist's feelings, taking it on, and then the narcissist keeps on generating their negativity, keeps on generating all those feelings of victimhood and pain, which the empath keeps taking on, and it becomes very destructive for the empath. You can also begin to understand why the narcissist feels attracted to the empath and seeks them out. The narcissists have a constant need for validation and admiration, talking about themselves, about their problems, about how they feel, often with no regard for the other person. And the empath keeps on being present, keeps on tuning in, keeps on trying to be compassionate and trying to help them. And it's just a vicious, endless cycle, because at the end of the day, the narcissist actually needs to go ahead and work on their own internal issues. So we've spoken a bit about some of the challenges of being an empath, which is sometimes empaths tend to attract narcissists in some situations and get drained from that. And that can be a destructive cycle. The second thing that we spoke about is overwhelm, that empaths sometimes feel in different situations where they feel like all of this information is coming through to them. They're taking on other people's emotions. It's difficult for them to be in big social situations or big crowds because that's overwhelming. So we've spoken about all of that. And as I said, I got a lot of messages where people said they feel like it's a curse, which is really sad. Let's speak a little bit about some of the positive attributes of being an empath. Being an empath means that you can support people and be there for them in a very unique way, because you get a very clear feeling of what they are going through, and you can use that as a way to connect with them and offer them that support that they might need at the time. Being an empath means being able to feel such a depth of feelings. Yes, you feel all the pain and the grief, but you feel your joy so much. You feel your happiness so much. Empaths are able to deeply connect with other people on a really deep level. And so relationships become very, very important to them. Empaths often become the poets and the writers and the creatives of the world. Empaths also are very plugged into their sense of intuition. So they can tell when somebody's not feeling okay or something is not right. And if they are able to manage that gift, with some of the advice that I'm going to offer in a bit, because everything has two sides to it. If you're plugging into everything, it can either be overwhelming or you can find a way to navigate around it. So they can plug into what's going on and see things from a wider perspective. Using that gift of intuition, empaths tend to have a greater understanding of interconnections and interactions. Their awareness tends to expand far beyond what's in front of us, the day-to-day daily life, and they're able to see with clarity the bigger picture of things and have a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. So how do you manage some of the challenges of being an empath? So we mentioned being overwhelmed, we mentioned being attracted to narcissistic people, that they may be taking advantage of the empath. How do you work your way around this? So there's a few key pieces of advice that I'm going to offer to you today that may help you on your journey to becoming an empath. And as you implement these advices and as you find your way around being an empath, you are then able to plug into some of the benefits of being an empath. And you may just find that you go from thinking being empathetic is a curse to thinking it's the biggest blessing and gift in your life, because that is exactly what it can offer you if you know how to navigate your way around it. Going into the steps of how you can become what I call a more conscious empath. So a more conscious empath would be someone who's an empath but has learned to navigate their way around being an empath and can navigate their way around some of the challenges and make it into a strength. First and probably most important step to being an aware empath, being an empath who uses it as a gift, is taking the time to nurture your own energy, taking the time to ground yourself. So what happens is very often empaths will go into situations and suss out what's going on and just absorb it. So they may go into a situation where there was a recent conflict and just kind of absorb all of the negativity around that. Or they may meet up with a friend for coffee and that friend is in a very low space and they just take everything on. I'm suggesting that as an empath, you have a responsibility to manage your emotional state, to manage your energetic state. Now, what do I mean by this? What I mean is, as an empath, it's very important for you to ground yourself daily. So to cultivate within yourself a sense of grounding and a sense of centeredness, so that when you go into a new situation, you can pick up on the vibes of what's going on, but you don't immediately drop into that space of negativity when you encounter it. So how would you ground yourself? There's several different ways. You can start your day with some kind of mindfulness or meditation practice. So you can practice meditation, you can practice a gratitude practice, you can do breathing techniques. And I would suggest that if you're starting out, do this regularly throughout the day. And as you build that sense of groundedness within yourself, you'll find that it's easier and easier to tune into that sense of grounding. So a quick way to ground yourself as an empath. So say you're going into a situation that's difficult and you're meeting up with a friend and you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure what state she's in. How am I going to make sure that I don't fall into her negative space? The first thing that I would suggest is there's several things that you can do. First, you could download an app where you could do a guided visualization exercise or meditation exercise that kind of works on grounding your energy and giving you more centeredness. You could do deep breathing exercises for several minutes while you're doing this as well. The third way is that you could tap your cortices out. If you're not sure how to do that, there's my cortices video. Please do check that out. The fourth way that you could do it is by getting in touch with some kind of energy modality like BodyTalk or any kind of energy modality that balances your energy field. Now, obviously, you can't do this every single day, but doing this on a regular basis as an empath is really going to help you out in terms of keeping your grounded energy. So that's the first point. The energy with which you walk into a room will determine how much you then absorb. The more grounded and centered you are in your own energetic space, the less likely you are to take on all the negativity that you feel around you. Because let's face it, we cannot control what kind of energy we're going to walk into, but we can influence the energy that we walk in with. The second step to becoming a conscious empath is becoming aware of what's yours and what's other people's. So when you walk into a situation, as an empath, you may start just taking on what's going on, taking on the pain, taking on the grief, taking on all of the stuff. And at the end of it all, you leave there going, I feel terrible. What's going on with me? So just taking a moment to, again, be mindful, taking deep breaths in and out, getting present within yourself, and just asking yourself, okay, what am I feeling right now? And you might find all of these emotions coming up. Then ask yourself, okay, how much of it is mine and how much of it is the other person's? And being an empath, that sense of intuition is there. You will be able to figure out, it'll take time, but you'll get used to it. You'll be able to figure out what's yours and what's the other person's. And then once you make that distinction between what is yours and what's the other person, just gently tell yourself it's okay to let go of what is the other person's, and coming back to yourself so that you can then just deal with what needs to be yours. This is a very important point because empaths tend to have this feeling that they need to heal the whole world, which segues me into my third point. The third step to becoming a conscious empath is the ability to observe without absorbing. Can you see the difference? So an empath who goes into situations and just absorbs all of the emotions like a sponge is the one who's going to feel absolutely overwhelmed and will eventually get to a point where they just don't want to interact with people anymore, where they want to cut out people in their lives who are going through any difficulty. So observing without absorbing is the ability to plug into those feelings and situations, because that is what an empath is naturally able to do, without taking it on. So you can observe, okay, this person is in pain, this person is in grief, this person is having a difficulty. I can support them without needing to take it on. There's a very clear distinction between supporting someone and taking it on. And many times empaths confuse the two. They feel like, if I'm not taking it on, then how am I supposed to support them? So I'm going to explain it from this perspective. If you have a friend who, for some unfortunate reason, has fallen into a hole, right? They've fallen into that hole, and you go there and you go, oh gosh, you've fallen into the hole. How are we going to get you out? Let me jump into the hole, and then both of us can decide how we're going to get you out. This is what most empaths tend to do, most unconscious empaths tend to do. They jump into the hole. They take on what their friend is feeling. Now you're both in the hole. How are you both going to get out? You're both in a negative space. So in this situation, the empath goes home feeling, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. She's in so much of pain. How are we going to solve the issue? But you can't support her while you're feeling so overwhelmed. So being able to offer the support without taking on means that rather than jumping in the hole, you go, okay, you're in the hole. Don't worry. I'm going to try and help you. Let me get a rope. Let me get some help and throw it down to you. And then either you or you can call for some backup helps to pull the person out the hole. Isn't that a much more effective way of helping someone, of supporting someone? So that is the difference between absorbing and observing. The person who absorbs jumps into the hole. The person who is trying to take it on for the other person jumps into the hole. Whereas when you just observe, you are able to support from a far more grounded space. And because you're already tending to your own energetic vibration, where you are grounding yourself and you are being mindful, and then you come in with the understanding of, okay, in order to help this person, I don't need to take it on. I can support them so much better if I offer them my help without falling into the same spiral that they are in. And this brings me to the fourth step, to becoming a conscious empath. What makes being an empath difficult for a lot of people is that they have this belief system that they need to heal the world, that they need to fix everyone, that every time they see someone in pain or in some difficulty, that they need to rush in and be their superhero and save them. Now, first of all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling compassion. There's nothing wrong with feeling a need to help other people. This is what being an empath is all about, but you cannot save everyone. And if you are going to try to save everyone and try to jump into everyone's proverbial hole with them, you are going to become completely depleted energetically, emotionally. You're not going to be able to be there for those who really need you in their lives, and you're going to end up resenting being an empath and feeling like it is a destructive trait, feeling like it is a curse in your life. So you need to become more discerning of this. As an empath, accept the fact that certain people need to go through certain situations in their life. And yes, you can support them, but you cannot save everyone from it. They have a journey, they have a path to walk that life has created for, has led them to. And there's certain lessons and certain growth that they need to go through in order for their own evolution to unfold, in order for them to find their own strengths, in order for them to heal, in order for them to rise in their own level of understanding and awareness. And when you constantly jump in and try to save them, because there's a big difference between saving and supporting, then you interrupt this process and you make it harder for them to learn it. So a very important point to note about being a conscious empath is accepting the fact that people need to go through specific situations in their life that will be ultimately for their own growth. And yes, you can support them through the process, but you cannot save them, nor is it your job to save them, because there's a big difference between saving and supporting. And this is the point at which I want to mention why an empath is then attracted to a narcissist. If you are absorbing everything around you, if you feel like you need to fix everyone, if you feel like you need to save everyone, then you can see how that puts you in the ideal position to be manipulated by and taken advantage of by a narcissist. But if you understand, if you tend to your own energetic vibration, if you practice mindfulness, if you are able to develop the ability, because it is a practice that you need to keep doing over and over, and you will be able to do it easier. If you're able to practice the ability to observe without absorbing, if you let go of the need to save everyone and are able to then make a distinction between saving and supporting, and you're able to support people without needing to jump into their hole with them, then you are far less likely to be attracted to a narcissist. So it all begins with you. Yes, there are plenty of narcissists out there who are looking for empaths, but if you are a conscious, aware empath who practices, all of which I have explained, then you are much less likely to fall into that self-destructive cycle with a narcissist. The fifth step to becoming a conscious empath is the ability to draw clear boundaries in your life. So these are clear energetic and emotional boundaries. So what I mentioned, the first step in terms of tending to your own vibration, that is really going to help you with your energetic boundaries. But having clear emotional boundaries, again, being very clear and very discerning about who you choose to help and who you choose to assist. Because let's face it, there are certain people who need your help more than others. If it's your kids, for example, they need you more than that friend who goes into the same pattern over and over. So yes, you can support that friend, but maybe it's also time to tell her, you know what, maybe you need to seek out the help of a professional. Maybe you need to look at some of the key things, because sometimes as empaths, you find yourself in a situation where you're just always listening, always being compassionate, always going, oh, shame, who are you? It's so difficult for you, commiserating, giving them sympathy, giving them empathy. But sometimes it's a matter of also saying, okay, what is it that you need to look at in your life right now? If you want assistance, if you want change like you say you do, then maybe you need to look at a few things in your life and look at changing that as well. And this may mean that they need to step into seeking out the help of a professional, or that they need to start looking at things differently. So start drawing clear boundaries in terms of how much you are willing to take on for other people and how much you are willing to support other people. Because yes, you have the ability to support, but you are one person, and you need to also practice a sense of self-love and a sense of self-care, because part of self-care is also saying, okay, I love you, I support you, but right now this is as much as I can do, and I need to give this a break for now. And when I'm ready and I feel like my reserves, my energetic reserves are filled up again, then I might be able to offer you that support again. So this is a form of self-care as well, having clear boundaries and saying, this is as much as I can do in this situation. The next step to becoming a conscious empath is making sure that you're doing your own healing and self-development work. Because even as an empath, sometimes you can end up projecting your own fears and your own stuff into situations where you make it bigger than it needs to be, and you take on more than you need to. So becoming aware of where you are being triggered as an empath. So even as an empath, there might be certain situations where you get really locked into because it triggers something within you. It triggers some of your unhealed wounds, some of your emotional baggage. So doing consistent healing and self-development work on yourself is really important to becoming a more conscious, aware empath. And in that way, if you do choose to serve and support other people on their journeys, you yourself are in a more centered, grounded, more aware space. The final step that I will offer you today in terms of becoming a conscious empath is practicing self-care of honoring where you are in the moment. So sometimes as an empath, you're out and about, and say you've practiced all of these previous steps that I've mentioned, and you find yourself navigating it much better. Sometimes though, you may still find, you know what? I need some me time. I need some alone time. So empaths have a need for having a decompression time, so to speak, from time to time. So you might find I can do with a certain amount of socializing, I can do with a certain amount of being there for people, supporting them and so on, but I need my me time. So as an empath, honor that. When you can feel like in yourself, don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel like, no, I should be out there serving this one, supporting that one. If you feel like sometimes you just need to decompress, you need to be by yourself, you need to just kind of practice some mindfulness, take the time to do that, because as I mentioned, that's a very, very important form of self-care. As an empath, you need to replenish your reserves, fill your cup, so to speak? How are you going to be there for others if you are not offering that to yourself? So some of the ways that you can decompress is spending time by yourself. You'll find a way that resonates with you. Spending time by yourself, you can use that time to read or to meditate or just chill out and vegetate in your own space. It could be going to the beach, swimming in the water, or any kind of grounding exercise or earthing exercise where you are in nature. This is actually incredibly important for an empath because it helps you to kind of discharge some of all those emotions that you may have picked up. So taking the time to be in nature, whether it's in a park or a nature reserve, or at the beach on the sand, if you can take off your shoes and go onto the bare earth, the bare sand, or the bare grass and walk around for a while, or sit there and just be mindful, enjoy nature, that's really going to help you to bring yourself back to a space of groundedness, to replenish yourself. So you need to, as an empath, tune into your own feelings, into your own needs of how you can better support and serve yourself as well, so that you can be in a better space, replenish yourself, and then you're able to go out into the world and offer your service in whichever way you choose and offer your support in whichever way you choose. What are your thoughts on being an empath? What are some of the difficulties that you have experienced? Have you experienced some of the benefits of being an empath? Do you have any further questions on being an empath? I really want to hear from you. So please do leave some comments below regarding some of these questions I've asked. I hope that you have found this video helpful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you feel like there's someone in your life that might benefit from this information, please do share this with them so that they can also benefit. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Congratulations on making it all the way to the end of the video. And now I have a special gift for you. If you click the drop down box below, there is a link there, a highlighted link. And when you click on the link, it will redirect you to a page where you can download your very own copy of a completely free ebook that will give you tips on how to navigate your way around being a conscious empath. And I think if you enjoyed this video, it's something that you will definitely find valuable. And like I mentioned, it's completely free. So make sure you click on that link and I will see you in the next video.